Hi and welcome back. I'm Jessie.
And I'm Chantal.
And this is Glowing in Tech. We are back with Roxanne and Joanna. Last week we had a fantastic conversation about navigating the tech layoffs and how to make yourself stand out in this job market, and really recommend you go back and find out about all the incredible things that these ladies have done. This week we're going to be talking to them about the things that they are building right now. So I've seen the very early stages of a new thing that you guys are up to. Would you mind telling us a little bit about ResLink?
Yeah, sure. So we basically launched the ResLink last week for the first time to the market, which we're very excited about. But it goes back to everything we were saying on the previous episode in terms of right now in this market, like you need to stand out as an applicant. You need to position yourself in a way where the recruiter is going to see your value beyond just a piece of paper. So it's a whole new concept around when you're applying for a job, instead of just uploading your CV, which again, AI is writing all CVs, is like you also upload a video of yourself where you're walking through the things that you want the recruiter to know about. Because your CV has a lot of experiences of everything that you have done in the past. But what is really relevant for the job you're applying for, like that specific job, especially if you're like switching careers, you need to highlight like specific things. For example, like either your experience when you are managing a project or when you were building a specific report or dashboard. So with a video, you can actually control your narrative and you can position yourself in a way that you want to show only what the recruiter wants to hear. So you can control the narrative of how they're going through your CV as well and make them spend more than 6 seconds looking at your CV, which is a reality now. So by creating a CV and attaching a video, again, like you can stand out massively. I've tested this myself, sending it, trying to get interviews without sending a ResLink, with sending a ResLink, and with sending a video resume. I actually got 40% more interviews than not sending a video resume. So it has a big impact because no one is doing it yet. And again, it's like a different way of showing your value and showing yourself. So that's more or less what the platform is right now, is like you being able to create that link where you have your CV, you have a video, you can link your portfolio, you can link your LinkedIn, and then you send all of that with a link. And then you also have the data behind it. So you can see when the recruiter actually goes in and sees your CV, which is also very powerful because if the recruiter is seeing your CV, but they're not responding, there might be something wrong with the CV you're sending or with your pitch. But if they're not opening your CV, then again, you're not getting in front of them. So it's like the more data and more insights you can have as an applicant as well, like the more you can do it and improve your application.
That's incredible. I have so many questions about ResLink, but also to you guys as founders. Because how did you find the build process? I think that's like my current question. It's like, how did you find building like this platform?
Yeah, so we actually joined the founder. So the founder, we worked with him at the beginning of last year when we did our first Career Accelerator program. So every year we run these 3-day workshops where we teach people about how to land their next job. And then he actually reached out to us in order for us to promote his platform, like as part of that 3-day program. And Joanna and I like absolutely love the concept. We're like, whoa, this is so cool. We'd love to actually do something similar one day, things like that. And then later that same year, he reached out to us and he was like, we'd love to have you basically on and advise us. And like, you speak to candidates every single day. You speak to job seekers. So it'd basically be great to have you guys on and help us build the product. So that at least the MVP of the product was already built when we joined, but then we helped set like the direction and like with all of the feedback that we were getting from job seekers, like how can we build it even more? So like we completely rebranded it in like the couple of months, helped basically the team build out new features that we knew would be really beneficial for the job seekers. And then like on the 8th of February, what's the date? No. 5th of February, we officially publicly launched, which has been well received, which is really exciting. But yeah, it's definitely like a shift, like in terms of getting people comfortable in front of cameras and like being able to give their video pitch. But for the people that, once they do feel that comfortability in terms of doing it, yeah, sure, maybe your first, second video is not going to be that great and it's not going to be the one you want to send out. But after you do it like 2 to 3 times and you feel genuinely comfortable in terms of like how you're saying your pitch, how you're going to sell yourself, people find it also just very empowering, like being able to say that story and say it with confidence that you can then share with a hiring manager. And then even hiring managers, because there's also a company side to the platform as well. So there's like the job seeker side where as a job seeker, you can create your resume to send it to hiring managers managers and recruiters was a pitch. But then there's also a company side where basically companies can make it mandatory or not for job applicants to submit a ResLink or to submit like a video resume along with basically their documents. And so that means that as a hiring manager, as a recruiter, as I'm going through the applications, I can decide who I want to interview based on their video pitch. And so we've also found like a lot more success in terms of like how quickly they've been able to hire, because that means that a hiring manager isn't going to reach out to someone who, you know, maybe if it's like a client facing role and like the charisma already doesn't show like on the video, then that means that they didn't waste their time essentially interviewing them because they would have already made the decision from the video. So we've actually found a lot of positives from both ends, like from the job seeker side and from the company side. But yeah, job seekers, I think, really enjoy like the new innovative way of it and like how it's quite like a different way to stand out. So yeah.
That's so cool. It's so cool that because you guys had the data, like you had the market research, and that's really important when building a product. So that's incredible to like learn about how you shaped it. Everyone listening should give it a go.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like you said, like the data, you guys have actually studied the problem. You have another company with Tech Talks. It's essentially, you've seen both sides of that issue. You've been very aware of the things that job seekers are up against, but also as hiring managers in your day jobs, you're aware of the problems that you're up against. Like, how has that been for you being able to articulate that in this product? Has it been a fulfilling like process for you?
Yeah, very fulfilling because it's basically solving like a real world problem, right?
Yeah.
And we genuinely believe that this is like a really strong solution in terms of like how to stand out in the job market. And this is like one of the key ways that you can do that, and like making sure that you share that story very clearly to recruiters and hiring managers. So personally, this is something that I wish I had when I was laid off. I would have been using this like a lot in order to reach out to people. And so we have done some experiments, even just reaching out to companies just to see what the uptick is. And we definitely see a higher response rate because even without using something like ResLink, like I've had people reach out to me before, and whether it's like a voice message or like a video, like I'm always more likely to respond just because of the level of personalization and like effort you've put behind that. Messages, you can send tons of messages. All you need to do is change the name. And unless it's you can always tell when it's generic, but this one is you can't send a generic voice message because then it's almost like you feel guilty not responding because you know that person put so much time and effort into that and making it very personalized to you that it almost feels rude not responding. And I think that's almost like the level that we're trying to get. Like we're trying to make the hiring manager or the recruiter feel uncomfortable not responding to that because they know that the person, it was such a strong pitch that it's like you almost feel a bit silly not responding.
Yeah. And I think you're reintroducing like a human part that we've lost in the job application process because it's so easy when you're looking through hundreds of applications to not even think of the people behind them. You can't see them, you can't hear them, you can't like, whereas you're putting that person right in front of my face and I understand, like I know who they are now. Yeah. So that's a really cool thing.
That was a big thing, like even in terms of like building and like improving the product is getting that human connection. Something that we really wanted to drive is we want to make sure that, because as you said, it's like hard connecting now. There's so many applications, there's so many people out there. Like even in terms of more people now are sending messages to recruiters and hiring managers because maybe they didn't think about it before, but as a result, that also means that recruiters and hiring managers are getting tons of messages. So that means that which ones do you choose to respond to versus not, and allowing, as you said, like that human connection, I think is something that we've just lost in this day and age that we're hoping to bring back.
Gone are the days where you could walk into a company and leave your CV at like the receptionist desk.
I demand a job.
You can't do that anymore. They'll just look at you like apply online.
Have you seen the memes of what mums think it's like when you walk in with a CV?
My mum says it to me daily. She's you should get a job. So just go into these companies. And I'm always like, this doesn't work.
Oh, bless mom. She doesn't get it. Yeah.
But it's great because like we do need that human element back. Like we need, like CVs are just pieces of paper. And at the end of the day, you stop reading the name. You just like skip the name and then you just go into, okay, where did you go to school or what jobs have you done? So it's so nice that you're bringing like personhood and personality like back into the process, but also like making everyone's life easier. It's easier on the applicant, but it's also easier on the person hiring too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's the thing. I don't even think making the video would take that much time relative to the cover letter that I am personally crafting and the way I'm tweaking my CV. Like, I feel like you could still make it a similar length of process after you've got the hang of it, of recording yourself. And we are all like way more used to filming ourselves, being present on video call, all of that. It's not, I don't think it's as scary as it would have been even 5 years ago, because we've just spent the last 5 years on Zoom and Google Meets and everything.
Yeah.
And what the interesting thing is as well is that first impression matters. So the first impression you have on that candidate is everything. And usually that first impression is over an interview where people are super nervous.
Yeah.
Like they don't know how to express themselves. Like they don't show their personality the right way. So there's something very powerful as well. And like you have a controlled environment where like you can record at your own time. Like you don't have that pressure of having someone there with you. And you can cause that first impression with that video. So like you remove all of that pressure from yourself, and like that can even be beneficial for you as you go in the interview. You're more nervous. I've already seen how you are in a safe environment, so that's not going to dictate how I feel about you as a candidate just because you're nervous.
Yeah.
So
Good point.
Yeah, that's a really nice way to think
really
about
breaks
it.
the ice.
Because it could even be more accessible in that way, because you're letting somebody have their own space to record that video, allowing them to do it not on the stage and not in that pressured environment. What's it been like for you two building that in stealth for the last, did you say for the last year?
yeah, like the last 5 months, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
How has that been, like balancing that and tech talks and your day jobs?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's been
A journey.
It's been fun. Yeah.
No, it's good because ResLink and Tech Talk are like talk the same language. So it's not like we're building something completely different for like completely different audiences.
Yeah.
So we can combine the both in the sense of like our knowledge and like market research and like everything like that. So that made the process much quicker. But in terms of, we did a massive rebrand of changing logos, changing the whole website, changing the whole product UI. So we invested a lot of like time and energy in doing that, but it was very fulfilling at the same time because again, we believe so much in this platform and the potential, and it's the first one in the market. There's no platform in the market that does video
It's
resumes.
good products.
So we really wanted to invest time on it. And yeah, even though it took a lot of our energy, like it's something that we're passionate about. And I feel like if you're passionate about it, like it's not something that drains you.
Yeah, for
as
sure.
well.
Yeah, when you're passionate about it, doesn't feel like work. And I think, as you said, because it's an extension, it feels like it marries up so well. Like it didn't feel like it was double the work. Like it was almost just like we could already come in from the get-go and provide so much value. Like we didn't need to like step out and take a ton of time. Because the reason I'm saying this is because we've actually worked on projects before, like on even before Tech Talk, where like there was like a lot of more of a disconnect, and that does feel like a lot of effort because you need to go do all of this research and do all these things where you need to basically build something from a blank canvas. Whereas here we already had all of the structure and everything in, and then it was just about up leveling it. And also because we had already seen the platform before and we'd had used it before, like from the first Career Accelerator program that we did at the beginning of 2024, we already had opinions about the platform and how to improve it. And we had already shared it with our followers who had feedback on it, on what worked and what didn't work. So we already had a lot of opinions about it before even joining the actual team. I know. Like, I think we were just so excited to release it. We're like, now it's time to release this to the world.
Yeah.
And I think it complements as well with everything we're doing, even on our full-time jobs, because I do marketing and like I take all of that marketing to Tech Talk, to ResLink, and like Rox is the same thing with RevOps. Like she takes a lot of that as well to the companies, both companies. And I think like all of our jobs kind of complement each other in a way because we're also like hiring managers, we're hiring. So like we're all involved in everything at the same time.
Yeah.
So it marries all together nicely, I think.
Yeah, you guys are the experts on that space. And something that I really love about your approach so far as well is like you've not just executed on the idea with no validation. Like you've put research in. You've mentioned a couple of like ways that you've tested whether or not it works. And I think like even just having that audience, you guys have that community of people you can test this product with. It's incredible. A lot of people will spend years trying to get to product market fit and validating whether the problem exists and it can be solved. Yeah. How did you have that foresight to think like that? Is this stuff that you've been picking up being part of startups and scale ups? Like,
I definitely think that plays a big aspect. Being in startups and being in scale ups and just having the mentality of you always need to be listening to your customers. Like, I think that all plays a very big aspect. If I always worked in big tech, maybe like this level of continuous feedback loop and like always changing things and like having your ears to the ground, maybe I wouldn't have been as used to it. But yeah, I definitely think like working in startups and scale-ups helps massively when it comes to that, because it just feels like we already know the motion, like it's something we're very comfortable with. And if anything, it's exciting.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like a lot of my job plays a part in it because like in marketing, I lead the growth team. So like anything related to customer acquisition. So like I need to have that mindset of always, we need to be selling to an audience, but do we understand that audience? What do they care about? What do we need to be showing them? Like it's not on, it can't be on assumptions.
Yes.
Because otherwise, like that's how your business goes bankrupt. So you need to like be validating that and be listening to customers and know what you're doing, because you're I'm spending a lot of money from like my company on going after that. So I have that understanding of I can't be like wasting all of those millions with going after something that I don't know. So we put that same mindset on Tech Talk of we really need to understand the pain points. We need to know those people. Like we need to put ourselves in their shoes, and we validate that ourselves too, because like we always go into the job market. Like last year, me and Rox, we went into the job market. We both got job offers. We didn't change jobs. It was just like to see how the market is as well from a job seeker's perspective, because like we have the hiring manager's perspective, but we also always like to put ourselves out there, and we're thinking of doing that again, just like going to the market, applying, seeing how we can get interviews, how long it takes, and all of that, because again, it's all about being in their shoes. And this is like super important.
Yeah, because I even think like on the operational side, like a lot of what like I brought into mindset is also being lean, mean, and strong. Like always, we don't need like a massive team. I think like both Joanna and I, and also why we work really well is like we both think we can do a lot, but with as like little resources as possible. So we're always like very conscious about like where we spend and like how we choose to spend. Like we believe a lot in like technology, obviously. So like we spend a lot, like where we do spend is like more on softwares to make sure that like it can help us be more efficient. And like when we do choose to outsource, like we don't want to have a massive team, but rather have a small team of like really strong people who believe in the mission, and like we're going to keep like the quality high rather than just having a massive team just for the sake of saying we have a big team. So I think again that like startup mentality of working in that kind of environment has really really helped when trying to like when building our own thing as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I was actually looking for a quote. Sorry, I was on my phone. I was looking for a quote, but I couldn't find it. But then I found a different one. And because I'm really like impressed by the fact that you guys are like, oh, we have this product. And it's the first in like, we're the first to do it. And the quote is, the first gets the oyster, the second gets the shell. And it's talking about like, being a first mover and betting against a trend or a way of doing things is really that golden spot when you're building something.
Yeah.
Because no one's doing it. You have this kind of you got this idea that's going against the mainstream. Is it going to pay off? The upside is crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm really impressed by the fact that, no one's doing this. I'm like, why didn't anyone do this before?
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. I don't know if anyone tried doing this before, but I've seen some articles from like 2021 of like people talking about video resumes, but then died after that. But it's tough because it's what you're saying. Like you need to go against the stream. So like we're not selling a product here. We're selling an idea.
Yeah.
And like to sell the idea, like it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of not giving up. This is not something that tomorrow everyone's going to be like, oh my God, video resumes are amazing. It's like we need to like slowly be putting that in people's mindset, in companies' mindset. And it's going to take a while, but it's definitely something that is worth like investing time in it. And if it doesn't work out, we poured our hearts and our souls and like we learned something out of it. But we believe that it's going to work.
Yeah, I think whenever you like, there's always resistance to change, like no matter what it is. And so we've already seen it with some comments, people saying, oh, but do we need to do this? Please, I don't want to put myself in front of a camera. So obviously some people are going to feel uncomfortable about it. And there is some skepticism, which I think is fair, like with anything that's new. But then also I'm always like, if nobody was challenging it, then was the idea big enough? That's how I think about it. If nobody's challenging it, if it's not making you feel uncomfortable, then probably the idea isn't like revolutionizing enough or like big enough or like causing enough of a ripple effect that it makes people uncomfortable, because change always makes people uncomfortable. So if anything, I'm like, feel uncomfortable. That means the idea is there at least.
You're driving something forward, right?
Yeah. That's how I was with Instagram. I mean, not that it's comparable whatsoever, but like I feel like when Instagram was first out there, I was I'm not gonna have Instagram just because I wanted to be that cool kid that's not like I was gonna be like, I'm not gonna jump on the trend. And then like after 2 to 3 years, I was like, okay, no, I need to become mainstream now. I kind of need to get on Instagram. Otherwise, I've basically basically a relic at this point if I don't use Instagram. But yeah, I remember the beginning, I was like, no, I'm not going to use it. It's just a trend. Then it's going to die. But
and also people didn't want to share like their personal life.
Yeah, I was like, why would I do that? You can get my shared album, but you don't need to know. But then, then it became a thing that everybody was using it. So it's, you didn't have it. Then it's like, so that's what ResLink is eventually going to become.
Absolutely. I believe it. I literally feel that way about TikTok. Like when TikTok was music.ly, I was like, oh, like, why would I dance? Absolutely not. I still don't dance on TikTok now, but it changed the way that you... It changed the way that like people even create content, and it led more towards like authenticity, because Instagram became this place where you just show the best parts of your life. And then TikTok, you have people like crashing out in their dressing gowns, like really authentic. So yeah, it's a whole new behavior, and what you are doing is introducing a whole new behavior, but in a different field.
Yeah, exactly.
And with both of those examples, Instagram and TikTok, we were resistant to them in the beginning, and now it's like we can't imagine life without them.
Yeah,
and they both serve
like,
very different purposes, and they're
we
really
almost
important.
had a crash when
Oh my God.
and I wasn't even impacted. I was like,
I can't believe I was crying over the Americans.
Something that Chantal and I have been exploring a lot on this season is speaking to people about different funding pathways for building tech products. So where do you guys stand on like, how do you feel? Yeah, what's your like funding strategy for something so early stage, and how do you want to take it? Where do you want to take it?
Yeah, I feel like that's something that we talked about as well, even with the founder. We don't want to take external funding for now.
Interesting.
Same way that we did like with Tech Talk, like we managed to grow it to a really good spot, like all basically banked by ourselves. And now we're like profitable, which is really good. And with ResLink, we want to try to do the same thing, because we're 3 founders now, or like 3 people working in the company. And we want to keep that as in-house as possible.
Yeah.
And I do feel like if we have the right strategy and we keep things lean, we can break even and then start growing from there.
Yeah.
So I don't think now at the beginning we need funding, because this is going to take like some of the ownership from us and some of the from the company of what is the vision that we have that we want to build. And we don't want to give out that control yet. So we want to try to keep it self-funded for now and see where it goes. Maybe we need funding in the future, who knows? But I think with the platform we have now and like the way that we're sustaining it now, we can carry it on for at least like a year.
Yeah.
I love a bootstrapped company.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's great if you can do it that way, because like you said, you don't get the pressure from like investors, and you can really build out your vision. And I think generally, and maybe it's my own bias, I think that when you're scaling, that's when really you think about taking external investment. But whether that comes from like VCs or an angel or crowdfunding, there's so many different ways to do it. But like, it's good that you guys aren't feeling any kind of pressure.
No. And the good thing is that we have Tech Talk. So we can fund ourselves.
Yeah.
Like Tech Talk is always going to be like our main business, and like we have huge growth aspirations for it. We're going to be our own angel investor.
Exactly. So cool. You made your own spin-off.
Exactly.
That's the dream. So many people have to compromise on their values and their vision as soon as they accept funding. And especially when you're early stage, there's so much equity that you give up right at the beginning and control. So like, yeah, massive admiration that you guys are doing it yourselves and bootstrapping. Yeah. Really cool.
You have your own funnel. You have your own community.
Yeah.
Now you're building your product. You're like every blockchain company's dream.
Yeah.
This is what they strive for.
Yeah, they need to go teach them something.
You need to come into the blockchain and be like, this is how you build community and a revenue generating product.
Maybe we should build ResLink on the blockchain.
Yeah. Are you guys I know that you've spoken about B2B and B2C aspects. Is that like both of those are revenue streams? Amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah, our B2C revenue stream is very strong. And like the big bet basically this year is expanding more of the B2B as well. Like we want to expand, actually diversify more B2C, but expand even more like our existing B2B this year. So yeah, basically being able to connect our audience with organizations even more closely. So rather than just focusing on the coaching side, like actually being able to funnel our audience to like recruitment agencies and companies that are actively hiring. So just like bridging the gap, essentially. That's what we're looking to do.
Same with universities as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. And both of you are from diverse backgrounds. You're women in tech. You're people that have not had the easiest route into where you are today. So does that play a role, like your personal experiences and your own like challenges? Is that at all involved in your company mission and what you're hoping for your product to do?
I think so. Yeah, definitely. Almost like in an unwritten way. I think naturally because we're 2 women and 2 like women of diverse backgrounds, like people are also drawn to that. Like sometimes actually when I speak with people, I ask them, I'm like, yeah, what because we did for example, our Career Accelerator program a few weeks ago and got really positive feedback. And I asked people, I was like, yeah, so what was it that was like so different from other people? Because there's a lot of people that do this in this space. And sometimes I'm still like questioning, like, why us? Like, why did you trust us versus other people? And they'll be like, yeah, like you guys are very consistent with what you say. I feel like you guys are not gated with the information that you provide, which means that we trust you up front. And then also, like they say, you're very relatable. Sometimes I have other Black people tell me there's not a lot of Black people in this space. I trust to this level, seeing like the balance of people, like somebody who's talking about getting visa sponsorship who actually went through that journey is also something that's very, powerful. So yeah, I definitely do think it has a big play. But we get people from all types, I would say, of backgrounds that join. But yeah, I think we attract people with minorities, and also in London because it's such like a melting pot of all types of races and like cultures. It's like a quite nice point for us because we're lucky in that sense that there is just so much diversity in London.
Yeah, that's so cool. So cool.
Cool. So I have a question, and it's so what do you have on the agenda for Tech Talk this year coming up?
Oof, a lot.
Where do we start? We could talk about. So we have an in-person event that we're going to be hosting in April.
We're going to host an event probably for 150 people. So our first event, we want to be doing much more events this year in line with we're going to change a little bit like our B2C model. We're still going to have like coaching and services, but we're going to go more towards building a community. So like the events are going to play a part in that community. So we want to be doing like networking events like conferences type of events as well, like dinners, everything like that. So we're going to kickstart the first one in April, which is going to be like a big one. And then, from there, start building the community and start focusing on that. And then again, as Rox was saying, building more partnerships with universities, with recruitment agencies, with companies to try to bridge a little bit more that gap between job seekers and companies.
Yeah. So you've been building ResLink for the past 5 months. And you were doing it in stealth. Will you also be talking about your this journey on Tech Talk as well? Will you also be shining a light into what it's like as women, as people from underrepresented backgrounds? How do you even start? Because like from what you've explained, it's like you have joined like the technical person, but even in that, it's a new way, it's a different way of starting a tech company or building a tech product. So do you think you will share that as well with your audience and your community?
As in back,
what it's like to bring something, like ship something, and then also like brand it and do everything. Yeah.
I didn't actively think about that.
Because something that we see a lot is we meet a lot of people that have incredible ideas. They understand a problem, but they don't have that like I think it's bravery, honestly. Bravery and commitment into validating what you believe is a necessary thing to solve. But they don't do that thing of, I'm going to put this out there because they don't know how to do X, Y, Z to get it started. So yeah.
Because there's a gap for like tech products, I would say.
Yeah.
I think there's that guy who is like an indie hacker, levels.io. I don't know if you guys know him. No. He's like a tech indie hacker. He's got like 7 things on the go. They're all like a few million ARR. Like they're making millions every year. Okay. There's that guy. But I don't see any women talking about, okay, this is what we're doing. These are the SaaS products. These are the software products that we are using. Yeah. This is our burn rate every month. Like we don't have that. Yeah. I've seen it start in like fashion. Yeah. Like Grace Beverly doing it or Amy Schmel from Odd Muse. I love Odd Muse. If you're watching this, girl. Took me up. But we don't see it with tech and like what is it like to do, like to be on this journey to do that? Yeah. I think it's really valuable, actually, really valuable content.
Yeah, to be honest, we haven't actively thought about it, but I do see a lot of value with what you're saying. Even I was watching like this documentary just saying like how like now a lot of these fashion brands that are doing well is because they don't just like the product and like the design, but it's because they like following the journey of the founder and like all the behind the scenes of like the warehousing, how the logistics and all of these kind of things. And that's the part which creates like a big loyalty for the brand. Yeah. So similar, I think, to what you were saying with Grace.
Beverly.
Yeah. So I feel like, I mean, it's definitely something to consider, especially for ResLink, I think, because I think Instagram is still very much like content focused. Yeah. We do some day in the lives, but not so much like day in the life of building tech talk. Yeah. Say, but
That would
definitely
be
a direction.
It's a different audience, I think.
Yeah.
And it could also be in the form of a newsletter. Because I like the fashion girlies. Kai Collective.
Love Kai Collective.
Kai Collective. So Fisayo, she has a newsletter for founders, for women that like want to build things.
Yeah.
And I think and that's a very different market.
But you need to link
Whoever's
that.
buying her. We'll put it in the show notes. She has like these, like she's got resources that she comes out with. And I think it's something that like I like a lot. And I like Kai and I buy some Kai, but I'm not like the biggest Kai consumer, but I eat up her newsletter.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. So I think it's an interesting thing to maybe like dabble in later on when you've got like a little bit less on your plate.
Yeah.
I think it's like finding that middle ground of like how much we want to talk about
share.
like job market versus how much we want to talk about like the journey of creating a business. Because like, for example, now on LinkedIn, like we're building our brand on LinkedIn as well, but it's much more targeted towards the job seekers and like companies in that space. But I would see that as like a branch off of like we create like a separate company where like we do maybe like podcasts or we do like a newsletter where we share more of our journeys. But I would see that separate from Tech Talk. It's just like something that is like more attached to us and like our personal brand.
It's personal.
Yeah. But definitely see it's something that we can do for sure. I see me and Rox like doing probably a couple more businesses as we go as well.
Serial entrepreneurs.
They are serial entrepreneurs. See what you've got in 5-10 years. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any more questions?
I have questions for you guys. On the spot. Just been like, how the podcast came about. What's it been like? Start with that. Like, how did you guys come up with the podcast idea? I know it's evolved a lot since the past few years.
Yeah, so I think this season we're really interested in this building element. Like we both have been in the startup space for a very long time, and Chantal will talk to her experience of that. But like for me, I think the longer I've been in tech and seen the process of growing and scaling something from seed to Series A to Series B, the more I've been really interested in starting something myself, and also just becoming more and more aware of how much it takes for somebody to start something from scratch and take it to something profitable. I think super passionate about underrepresented people doing that, and also very aware of the fact that we don't get to see very much of it, that behind the scenes element and what it takes, what you guys have been doing. So yeah, we really wanted this season to be about how you start something.
Yeah, it's because there's one thing about like getting into tech and like getting your first tech job, and then you're in tech, you see so much innovation happen and you're like, oh, I want to do this. But then where do you go? We didn't feel like there was enough like content out there, or just people were being platformed to be like, okay, this is how you can build something. This is how we did it. And this is why we did it. And yeah, I guess the same with Jessie. I've been working in scale-up startups. I've changed industries. I've also done like a talent accelerator for like tech entrepreneurship. And it really just made me feel like this is something that we don't do enough. And I remember like I was talking to Jessie and I was like, there was a period of time I was getting paid just to have ideas.
Really?
Yeah. I was getting paid just to have ideas and run into spikes and see if like I can find some sort of like product market fit. That so many people don't know that exists. So we
how do I do it?
So we have to talk about it. Like we have to bring these things to light. And that's the main reason why we're doing this. People don't know that these things are possible. You can build something in your house. You could go on an accelerator and you can raise money and build something. And we just wanted to educate our audience. Who is now awesome. Matured. They've got a few years under their belt.
Yeah. And Chantal and I actually met doing a career accelerator 5 years ago. And then we became volunteers on that. And that became a Founders Accelerator.
Exactly.
So we got very early exposure to people that had ideas that were taking it through like an intensive mentorship program. And I've just been inspired. And
so inspired.
Yeah.
Like I think that honestly changed my life.
Yeah.
Because before that I wasn't even in tech. So it's crazy.
Shout out to Black Valley and
Black Valley.
Is it Black Valley?
Yeah.
I'm going to send him this podcast. That's so cool. Yeah, I spoke with him a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
The founder. Yeah,
he's coming back.
Great.
Yeah,
like
he's
so nice.
amazing.
I was like, oh my gosh, such a nice guy. He was like super encouraging. He was like, what you're doing at Tech Talk is amazing. Like, keep going. Like,
yeah.
I was like, oh, cry. Cry moment.
No, he's a really good guy. Really good guy.
Yeah, so that's how we got here. That's what we're doing.
That's awesome. And what are the plans for this year?
You know what? I would say they're still in motion. We've got ideas, things that we want to do. Like, of course, we're doing the podcast and we're talking to people, but then also thinking about what else we can do with Glowing in Tech and how else we can support our community. Because it's all well and good that you're talking about things, but it's like, how can we actually help you do these things too?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And I think, with events and things, it's a great way to help people to connect. And we've seen, I'm sure you guys have seen it too, 3 or 4 years ago, all the tech companies were throwing money at events and you could go to networking things left and center and get free dinner everywhere. It's not the same now. There's not the same availability.
We're hungry.
Give us our third spaces. I miss my dinner. No, but for real, like there's just a lack of spaces to connect with people in tech that, would be really cool to figure out a way to do a bit more of.
Yeah.
That's so true.
And I also feel really inspired because I'm on my coding journey now. And then I was thinking about Glowing in Tech and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Git.
It's Git.
It's Git. And then I was like, it would be so cool to like, what if people wanted to build like tech products using AI? 30 days.
Ooh.
What if we did that?
That would be fun.
Yeah.
We've been playing around with the idea of like hackathons, right?
Yeah, we have.
That's something we would want to go into. There used to be, again, another thing that we've lost due to tech layoffs and lower tech budgets, but there used to be a great hackathon scene in London that I've not seen so much now.
Yeah.
So trying to
Get
bring
people
all that
building
stuff.
again. Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Nice.
Yeah, get people building again.
That should be like a healthy economy, so I'm sure they'll be happy.
Absolutely.
With that.
And like when we look at, let's just dive into AI a little bit. Like the UK is not in any sort of conversation there.
No.
There were no, like, we're getting left behind.
And we're a bit of a joke to the world stage, aren't we? With like, just China competing with America, and then there's like Europe. We got our
What are we doing?
The plastic cap.
So I feel like we need to start, like, what is it like? We need to start pushing people to push the boundaries, if that makes sense. And there's a lot of red tape in the UK. We've got a lot of CCTV, but it's what can you do in the shadows?
Yeah. And also, I think for that as well, like I think we've been like mollycoddled into this tech valuations and the VC money that was flying around a few years ago. It was great for all the free pizza, but it gave us this, I don't know, I think people think that they need millions to make an idea come to life.
Yeah.
And that's why talking to you guys is so cool, because it's like you're making it happen on your own, whether or not there's a board of directors telling you can or not. And I think we need to bring that back a little bit. Be scrappy again.
Be scrappy.
Yeah, but that's also a slogan. Be scrappy again, guys. You can build something from nothing. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I do think people are getting a little bit too comfortable with just being able to find money or building something from concept without even it being proven before. Yeah. Whereas I think you can just keep it simple.
Absolutely.
I actually think keeping it simple is always the best way. Keep it simple, prove it, and then just build it from there. If there's something to build on, then you build on. And if not, then at least you kept it simple from the get-go.
Yeah. Maybe there's a pride thing to that too, of like being too scared to let something fail. Like, I don't know. I'd love to, figure out why we've stopped building so much. But
so yeah, we'll just keep you guys updated on what's coming next.
Yeah, please do.
Prepare to be excited.
Definitely.
Amazing. It's been so good speaking to you both. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we're so excited to hear about where ResLink goes. Yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, and we'll put all of your links and everything in the show notes.
Yes.
So that our audience can take advantage of it.
And where can we find you?
Everywhere. You can find us mainly on Instagram. So Tech Talk UK, we're there. Or on our own LinkedIn's as well. We're going to put on the link.
Amazing.
But yeah, I think Instagram is the main one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. And if you want to get ahead of the curve, use ResLink.
Absolutely.
Yeah.